I don't even know where to start. Usually I jump into these conversations and I don't worry about what the title is or things that you've done, my guests have done. However, I have to read the list of some of the things you're working on now. I'm sure there's others. You're running the condo shop, which is a real estate team. You're the operating principal for Keller Williams, the number one in Philadelphia, the number one office, I believe, in Philadelphia with 400
I'm
agents.
I'm one of the partners, but we have 1,100 agents here in Philadelphia.
How many?
1,100.
Whew. Wow. Okay. And then you're the CEO and principal of TCS Management, TCS Investments, Black Label Luxury, Rent Philly, and you're involved in an investment fund, TCS Annika Homes, along with several charities, a family, traveling. Wow. Welcome and how? Tell me.
Well, thank you very much for having me here, Joe. You're very
Yeah. Really excited to do this.
it sounds a lot, but one thing to remind everybody is that it didn't happen overnight.
Right.
This has accumulated over the last 20 years of grit and day and night working and hard work, along with support from a lot of people that have created this opportunity. I'm the face to those companies, but I don't run all of them all day long. So, you focus on things and then you bring leverage and create opportunities for them as well, finding the right talent. Because, thinking about not every talent that, we always talk about sitting on the right jump or getting on the right bus. Think about it, not just getting on the right bus, but then sitting on the.
Right.
So that's also important. What role are they playing? So having those conversations, what are their desires? What excites them? What triggers them? That has been part of my journey for the last 20 years. And that has helped me create all these opportunities for them. And they have created for me as well.
So your growth has been by serving others in a major way.
I would 100% agree. It's success through others by creating opportunities for them as well.
So you got a bunch of great things going on. Let's start from your humble beginnings. How did this even start, getting into real estate?
There was another conversation I was having a while ago, and I said, the way it started was my dad was the richest guy in India, and one of the richest guys in India. We moved to the US. We had a huge business, and then started laughing. It's like, no, none of them was true. It didn't start that way. We
Right.
came to this country in 1997 with about $5,000 of lifelong savings as a family. So four of us came: my parents, my sister, and myself. And that's what my parents had, $5,000 all in after selling every asset in India. And there was a new beginning. That was 97. I started working in a newsstand, selling newspapers and lottery tickets and cigarettes and magazines to make a living enough. But I knew I was saving every penny. I wanted to go to college to be able to get a good education and create opportunities for myself that way. So I basically started at almost less than $5 an hour, working 80 hours a week every week for 9 or 10 months to be able to afford enough money to pay for one semester of college. And that's how my journey started. And that was computer science, not real estate.
And was that your trajectory, your expected trajectory was to get into computer science? That's what
I wanted to be an IT programmer. Coming from India was something I was either I wanted to be an engineer or a doctor, and I picked the engineering path. But then unfortunately 9/11 happened right around the time when I was graduating, and there was a hiring freeze everywhere. Not a good time to graduate. December 2001 with the unfortunate events that happened, and I had to figure something out to make a living. I was married early enough in my life with my high school sweetheart at the age of 22, and now with no job and a lot of responsibilities, and I had to figure something out. And that's what I started. I got a job. I did some odd things here and there as well. I started a website design company. I started a teddy bear retail shop in the mall. I worked in a jewelry space. So I tried a few things here and there to see where I can make some money. And
So
then I ended up,
you have an entrepreneurial side of you from the beginning.
thank God, my dad had always been an entrepreneur since the age of 19 in his life. And he's probably had about 15 different businesses under his belt and experience. So I grew up just watching him, being an entrepreneur in every step of the way. And I loved his stories. And then I just didn't realize it was getting engraved in me somehow of being how to be an owner, how to be a partner, how do you go on a vacation, but have things being managed behind you? How do you leverage? So I was watching it at a subconscious level and not realizing that I was being taught those lessons in life, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, that's a great education. Definitely beats college education. Came in more handy. So real estate. How did that happen?
So I picked up a job in a company as an IT professional. That company happened to be in real estate. I didn't
Okay.
pick them because they were a real estate company. I picked them because they wanted to pay a salary to me as an IT professional. And then once you get there, I think one lesson that I learned early on in my career is you get a lot of education by asking questions. You can only ask those questions if you're in a situation at the moment. You cannot save your questions for future.
Nice.
It's like a conversation we are having. You could not send me any questions to prepare in advance because this is just a pure conversation, and what I'm answering is going to create more things beyond it. That's why I think I went to the office every day. I met with the owners of the company. I was around them. I saw somebody come to the office and they had a meeting for an hour, and then they had papers lying around on the desk, and I picked them up and I said, I don't understand this. Could you explain a few things when do you have some time? Or I could hear people talking about cap rates and triple nets and leases. And so I was just very curious that I wanted to be a student of education and experience. Like, how do I get that information? And I didn't realize how it was going to help me. I was just curious. Let me just get more information. So that's how I got into real estate by being around people who were talking real estate. And I started learning and asking a lot of questions. And at one point I said, hey, the best way to get a good understanding of this business is to go get a license because they will teach me in college. But what I didn't realize was when they taught me the bundle of rights with the sticks concept, I'm not going to use it in real life
Right.
unless somebody's going to teach me and hold my hand how to use it. But I'm glad. But if I didn't have a license, I would have never had the opportunity of selling or buying real estate.
That's
So
right.
every step of the way, I can look back and say, thank God I was there in person and I was asking questions and I got my license. So I started my career that way.
So you just started following what the flow of what made sense. You stayed curious, which I like, because that's our motto here. Stay curious. You followed that, and you kept digging in. You kept learning. So what was your first experience, like your first year or two experience in the business?
I probably made $10,000 a year for the first 2 years in real estate.
Yeah.
That was more money than I thought I was going to make
Wow.
because it was because I didn't expect to make anything. I didn't have the right experience. So, a lot of people have relationships. They either grew up in the country or they went to college with people or their uncle, aunt, or
Right.
the state. I didn't have any experience or behind or history where I could rely on. I had to find new relationships. And everybody knew that I did not understand. I wasn't experienced enough for real estate. So why would they trust me? So I had to get myself enough experience. So one thing that I did, I think, which has valued me a lot more in my life today is while I was working with somebody, I took 3 years of classes, take every course to become a real estate broker. So I thought to myself, well, if I don't go to college for 3 years, how am I going to be able to learn and practice? So let me just do the education in the evenings, even though I have not made any single dollar yet. But when I got out, I was intelligently talking about what are the things that we should do, we should not do. So I just needed some practical experience as compared to getting the whole education afterward.
So this is it's a daunting undertaking what you're doing. You have pressures of having to earn, and you're in a business that's not easy, and you don't know what's going on. You don't know anybody. What kept pushing you? Like how did you get through that? Were there dark moments, or was it's all sunshine and roses, and you just kept marching on?
That would have been awesome if that was the case, Joe. That it never works that way. So I when I was starting out, paying $1,000 or $2,000 for maintaining a license was too much that I had to pay. And if I was making somewhere around 35, 40,000 a year early on in my career after taxes, you don't have $2,000 to pay a year. Like that,
Right.
that is a lot of money, but you have to believe in yourself. And my goal was instead of running away, then paying a few $1,000s, I started asking myself, what do I need to do to make at least that much money so I can continue working? So I had two choices. Either I ran towards achieving those goals. So
And you had the
I
faith
kept
in
pushing
yourself.
myself.
Right? You could invest in yourself, and you'd get it done.
And if you don't, I think there's hopefully you're surrounding yourself with people that'll smack you and saying, what are you doing? And thank God I was married early on, but my wife pushed me as well and said, you can do this. I believe in you. My parents did the same way. And there were days when I had to go borrow money from people and saying, I don't have money to pay my MLS dues, but can I please borrow it? And in my first rental transaction, I'll pay you back. So I kept pushing myself. So think about it this way. We go to 4 years of education, which I went for college for computer science, didn't make any money, paid thousands of dollars every year in the hope that after the fourth year, I'll make some money moving forward. Now I could get out and get a license for 75 hours, but potentially I could make $1 million. But I have to get the education either before I start making money or after I get the opportunity of making money. So I decided I'm going to get my real estate courses done so I have the education to be able to have the opportunity to make money. So you have to pay your dues before or after. So that education gave me a lot of confidence that because I am much more knowledgeable than a regular agent would be who's getting a new license,
Yeah.
I just thought to myself, well, I have to be better than that. Why am I not going to be able to compete? I will. Maybe it's just a matter of time. So keep going, Gaurav, as long as you have to be able to achieve that.
Most agents have the struggle story. And what you've been able to do is jump that. At some point, you got to a point in your business where it's time to leverage and grow. Give us an idea of what that was like, what was going on when it was like, okay, I got some rhythm going, it's time to expand.
My goal was to make $100,000. I think anybody that I meet today, when I ask them, you in business, what's your
Still a
goal?
number.
$100,000.
It's still a
That's the
number.
magic number.
It was
So
$100,000 was worth a lot more back then than it is now, and it's still $100,000.
still 100,000. It feels good, like a six-figure number. That's great. So I'm going to help some of the people that are out there break it down for you. $100,000 divided by 52 weeks is give or take $2,000 every week. So if I can make $2,000 every week, I'll make $100,000. So I thought to myself, well, so now the goal is only to make $2,000 a week. It's not $100,000 a year. It's only $2,000 a week. But how many hours can I work? Well, I'm used to working 80 hours a week. So in $2,000, if I work 80 hours a week, how many transactions or people can I meet? What am I supposed to do? And how am I going to go meet those people? So a lot of people say, I want to be a luxury agent. Sell $1 million home, make X number of dollars on the first transaction. Or I only want to do sales. I only like buyers. I don't want to spend my time running around. I had the time. I had no money. So I said to myself, easiest transaction for me to make fast money was helping people do a rental. I can walk around with them, show them a property 8 hours a day, and I can hopefully close one rental in a day.
Okay.
If I did that on an average of $2,000, that was a rental portfolio at that time in the city of Philadelphia. If I represent a tenant, which is half of it, so now I'm representing the tenant side for $1,000. For argument purposes, let's say I have a 50-50 split with somebody.
Yeah.
I'm making $500. So now I have to do 4 leases a week. So if I can just do 8 or 10 hours a day and I have to do 4 leases a week, I can take 3 days off. That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
But I have to close one transaction a day. And then when I started doing it, it wasn't as easy because I didn't have enough people to go around and show them places. I had to find what to do. So I was doing open houses every week. I was going to other people and saying, if you want to show rental properties, I'll do it on your behalf. I started lead generating by other people and saying, how do I get the leads? And once I started developing that business, other people started recommending it. My previous clients started recommending to me. And I started building my portfolio. And what's interestingly happened was I was showing rental, rental, rental. And then the 11th or 15th one will say, well, I'm thinking of buying. Or I'll ask them a question, well, why aren't you buying? If you want to spend $3,300 in a rental, you're going to be here for 4 years. Do you understand the math of buying and the value around it? Sometimes I'll get a hit by having a sale. So when I look back, I was making way more than $50,000 in 6 months. And that was just because I would take a rental, I'll take a landlord representation, I'll take a buyer, I'll take a seller. And I started doing my business slowly. And it became to the point where I could not have shown to enough people in a day. So, and got a second person to help me where I said, you have the same problem that I did. I don't have enough people. Let me give you some leads. Let's have a split structure. And then you go and do it, but do it my way because I like my way that is working. But if you have suggestions, I'll take it. That's how my leverage started.
Okay.
And then we went from 1 agent to 2 and so on. And we started building the sales business after that.
And what did you have behind you as far as support? Did you have a transaction coordinator, assistant? or did you go straight right to in that second agent on?
Early on, because you're talking about my journey, I would say I went through the second as a buyer's agent or tenant agent representation first. I was doing all the work on the back end.
Okay.
But honestly, knowing what I know now, if I had to do it again, I would probably get an assistant first
Right.
so that they can do more of my back end work. My per hour value was being focused on doing the back end admin work, and technology wasn't as great at that time, and the processes weren't as great. Now we have that. There weren't companies for transaction management. There were individuals who were doing it. Now we can outsource that easily. Technology can be used. So I would say ideally, I would definitely get an assistant first to take care of my non-income producing activities so I can continue focusing on showing homes and helping buyers and sellers with those conversations.
Okay, so now you have your team growing. You have
That's
agents.
correct.
What was how many agents did you have before you went to okay, now I need staff?
We had about 6 agents in the
Wow.
team that we all were I was helping them do their own contract. I was teaching them how to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll be vulnerable here. I think it was a bad idea that I was teaching them some bad habits that I had picked up.
Yeah.
Knowing now, I teach everybody, don't make the same mistake. You
Right.
should know what it means. You should know what the contract does. But I don't want to cut my own hair. I don't want to change the oil in the car by myself. People can do that if you want to, but it's not going to add value for what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I don't want to cut
So
my own hair either, but I'd have to have a barber in my bathroom every morning, so that's not happening. So
you get my
so
point.
yeah. No, it's brilliant. You're spot on, and I too made that same mistake, and I started bringing in agents before I had an assistant, and when I finally broke down and got that assistant, it freed me up and life got better. Was your first iteration of this team the condo shop, or was that something that came later?
It was my probably third iteration.
Okay.
I failed miserably in the first one. I did well, decently in the second one, and then the condo shop was my third opportunity.
So
But
let's talk about that first. When you say failure, I'd probably argue that it was just a stepping stone, a test, and it
I agree. I agree in some ways. I appreciate that. Actually, that's correct. It was not a success story, but internally, I was succeeding by getting more experience, but it didn't make me money. Sometimes we look back and say, well, if it didn't make me money, then let's go find a new career.
and what did
And
that
I
look
didn't
like?
do that.
What was that?
I joined a brokerage company without taking names, one of the largest brokerage companies in the area. With the training that they were providing and the promises that were made, I thought I'm going to be very successful just by joining them. I did not go to training classes. I did not spend time doing the homework. I didn't build my database. I just wanted to get some business from them.
Right.
And I didn't. And it took me a few months of paying my bills. And when I started pointing fingers at them and saying, oh, it's your fault, not mine, I'm not making any money. And I'm going to find a better company that's going to be able to provide me the value that I'm looking for without actually understanding what value I wanted and what was I willing to do to achieve my goals. I just had my fancy goals on the paper of $100,000, but I did not know what I'm going to do. So then I quit that company, blaming people around me. And I joined and I said, I'm going to start my own company because if they don't know what they're doing, then and as smart as I am, with a house fund, that's how we all think. And
Yeah.
at the age of 27, with 2 sales and 1 rental under your belt, you could start a brokerage company and be the smartest person on the planet. So I started that. Because I had the experience in real estate education, I was able to now. Then I started shifting my focus and saying, okay, it doesn't sound like I'm really good in the sales because I was very concerned about being an immigrant. I have an accent. I still speak with an accent. I still think in Hindi and translate in English as I'm speaking. It came more natural over a period of time, or by speaking that for 27 years. But I'm still, when I'm thinking strategically, I'm thinking in Hindi, and sometimes I'll say things that doesn't make sense in English. So I had that challenge. I didn't have real estate experience. I didn't have stories to tell for the past. So I said, if that's not becoming my focus, how do I actually make money? And I still like this industry. So I said, well, there are a lot of people who don't know how the back end works. They don't know the details of all the education I got for becoming a broker's license. So can I add that value to somebody? So I started coaching people a little bit of saying, I can help you do the task that you should be doing. I haven't been doing it. Let's do it together and we'll achieve together. That actually got sticking a little bit more and more. A lot of agents made a lot of great growth with being together as so now they had a partner. I was able to help and guide them what they were doing. Today I was sort of a coach to them without being an official coach because there was no structure behind it.
Right.
But I became their accountability partner. I was helping them. Why aren't you here? What trouble are you having? Let me help you solve it. What would I do as in a situation? So I had a lot of bookish knowledge, and they were having a lot of transactional, actual on the road knowledge. So we combined our resources. So that helped me grow the business to about 70 agents with my partner. So
Wow.
that became a bigger,
Wow, that's a good
yeah, we
size.
recruited about 70 people in the company in about 18 months or 24 months. And, it was a flat fee structure model
Yeah.
because our value was only me and my
Right.
partner. So in the absence of value, you compete with price.
Yeah.
So it was a different model that we created, but we attracted a lot of people, good people, hardworking, and then that didn't really grow as much beyond it because the numbers were higher, but it wasn't getting to the point I wanted to. So then I decided I'm going to do a third venture called the condo shop with somebody in the city of Philadelphia. And I've been doing that since 2010 at this point, 15 years. And then everything else around it, all the different company names came from there.
Okay. So the condo shop is obviously you focus on condos. Is that
So that was the idea. Be the expert in the condominium world. We had a trademark. We have a trademark in the country to say, let's go nationwide and sell condos. And as we started building our career here, a lot of agents that were becoming part of our team, they started doing more homes, more rentals. Then condo shop, you cannot put the name outside a $1.8 million home. It's not a condo.
right?
So we had to change and pivot a little bit and said, let's start TCS group that is going to be able to sell homes while condo shop becomes a specialized division.
I
But
guess.
then if you have a rental renting outside a home, it's not a condo and it's not a home. So we started Rent Philly. So we specialize in those companies. So that's how all these brands came about of being a specialized expert in an area, but all under the umbrella of TCS group. So Black Label, Rent Philly, condo shop, all divisions of the TCS group.
And the condo shop itself, is that outside of Philly? Is that bigger?
We are in New Jersey and PA. We have stayed around in New Jersey and PA for now. We are licensed in Delaware, but we haven't really gone that far to Miami and Chicago, which is a future goal of ours.
Great.
We haven't had the right time and the right people yet to expand those places.
That's right. And you're within the Keller Williams system still. So
We
you have that expansion structure to work within.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
Right.
many businesses have expansion models, and I love where I am, and it's helping us.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So what is the structure of your firm now? I know your office as a whole is 700 people. What's your firm look like now?
So I had the opportunity of, we were an independent brokerage company called the Condo Shop. We got into KW. I bought that franchise as well. So we are about 1,100 people. So I own the franchise, and then I have my team inside the franchise. So the Condo Shop is a team inside it. We have about 75 people in the team.
Wow.
Out of the 1,100, we have one expansion team in New Jersey with our partners who are husband-wife team and a partner there. So, and then we have so talking about leverage, our rental division has a partner, our luxury division has a partner. So there's a key person in each business that is helping run and grow the team as well. So I'm not the point of contact for any one of them anymore as the key point of contact. I'm very involved in all the businesses.
Sure.
But, I need to be able to leverage with other people. So that's a brokerage world. We also have a property management company called TCS Management. So, that's what happened. We had a client who we sold condos as investments. They came back to us and said, well, how do I manage this? Do you have some recommendation? We gave some recommendations. That didn't really work out. And I said, you know what? Let's help you out by doing our own management company. So now we have 4,500 units that we manage across in about 10 states.
Wait, how many?
So that became big. 4,500.
4,500 units in how many states?
In 10 states.
10 states. Wow. And you have somebody managing that system as well?
We have a full team. We have about 45 plus employees that are in that. We started one unit about 11 years ago.
So what is your role now with all this going on? Do you have somebody running every piece of it and you are the top of that?
Yeah, I'm playing more of a strategic advisor role primarily, but I'm still involved in nitty-gritty in many places. How are we expanding our property management company, meeting new people, our retail brokerage company. So we have a CEO almost in every company at this point, and I'm trying to see where I can help with the vision. We started an insurance company that's called PNC, helping people with auto and home and E&O insurance and general liability. Because when you're managing 4,500 units and you're selling 7,000 units a year as a company, there's a lot of homes and people's lives that you're touching, and then if you can provide a better solution as compared to everybody being in different places, you're creating a platform with a one-stop shop for everything. So we started an insurance company as well that is now in also about 7 states, which we're growing with them.
My calculators must be broken. Did you say 7,000 homes sales?
So our Keller Williams Empower brokerage company with 1,100 agents, we help about 7,000 homes a year.
Wow, that's impressive. That's phenomenal. So you're the goal for a lot of people want to have what you have at some level. What you have is rare. Well, however, they do want to get to that level where they're running a business only, they're not in it, they're not doing the deals. So what you were thinking along the way when you're getting to those challenges of expansion, how did you figure that out? Like where to go and how to put it together?
We are figuring it out as we go along. I still think we are the beginning of our journey. Just because you got to more states and you're making some money doesn't make it a very successful business. Because I think the question that we all ask ourselves, this is the best version of me that is possible. This is the best version of the business that is possible. So you are constantly striving to get better and better and better. And then you try to find and surround yourself with people that can help you get better as well. So what's the next step? What's the next step? It's not about the money. It's yes, that is important. Part of working as a business owner, it has to be profitable, but it is also about trying to get better in your life and creating a platform which is big enough for everybody to succeed as well. So one thing I'll advise everybody is don't look at anybody else as where they have been and think it's so unachievable. Because I can look up and people like Elon Musk and other top agents in the country that are doing 2,400 transactions in a year. I was like, there's no way I can ever do 2,400 transactions in my team.
Right.
Because we are in like 500 transactions, which is still huge, but I also have 70 agents. So I think the question always comes in is like, am I comparing myself to others or am I focusing today? What am I not doing today that I should be doing that is going to get me on a journey for the next step? So I might be on to that.
I like that. My best right now. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being your best at the moment. And some people wait and they struggle or they perceive their best to be perfection, and that can get in the way in a big time and big time. And it's impossible. So I like that. You're constantly pushing yourself.
In health, I'm not in the best shape of my life. I'm still decently fine. I'm working, trying to get better every day. But one thing that somebody told me was, don't think too much. Add some movement every day. If you don't have the time to go to the gym, go for a walk. You don't have time for going for a walk, at least in the garage on the 6th floor, walk up and down to your car. Do something.
Right.
But doing nothing is going to guarantee you there's going to be no change. But with movement, you don't know what's going to come. So I'm trying to do that in every business of mine today of how do I keep moving and shaking things, keep the water roughing somewhere. Something is going to happen. Somebody's going to call me. I need to go to this place. If I'm talking to you, we're both talking for the first time. I don't know what's going to happen, but who knows? Maybe one of the listeners may say, I have an opportunity, or somebody may say, hey, you really impressed me, and thank you. You're making an impact in my life. I'm hoping that from our conversation, something like that happens, where I make an impact in somebody's life somewhere. But it will happen. And if it doesn't happen in the first time, it'll happen the second time, the third time. Keep doing it and show up. 90% is showing up. Every business, every partner is because I met them someplace.
And another trait that you have that a lot of people aren't so willing to share is you're humble. You talk about your failure. You talk about how hard it was and the reality behind it. You're not sitting in front of your Mercedes Benz or your Rolls Royce and your Learjet. You're real, and that's encouraging. And I think you having that attitude and being open with people just brings opportunities. People feel comfortable talking to you.
Never forget where you come from, right? Just because somebody has more money or more businesses today, God forbid, what if it's not there tomorrow? That should not change me as a person. Money should not define me. I should be defined by me as a person and who am I inside. So, stay honest to yourself. Integrity is when doing the right thing when nobody's looking. It's a lesson I learned from my family, my parents, and I stick to it. If I say the same thing or the truth every single time, I don't have to remember what I said to somebody 10 years ago because my story is not going to change. My words are not going to change. And if I do it right every single time, I will just not cheat anybody. I will not just do wrong to anybody. So that's my philosophy. Just and stay the journey.
That's a solid foundation. You mentioned your health, you mentioned your family, and you mentioned being true to yourself and to everybody else, and that's big. That's a great foundation. Do you have this massive vision of where you're going, or are you just putting things together as they come along? What's
I do ask a lot of other people. So I have my vision was not big enough. But I wanted to make, and as I said, I want to make six figures in my life, and I was able to achieve that long time ago. And then it's like, okay, now it's just a number. You keep raising the number and you're raising the number, and that doesn't provide you the happiness or bring you happiness. And I've been through the rat race a little bit. I'm 46 years old now, and I realized that that's not the game I want to play anymore. So now the game is, how do you create a platform big enough for others to succeed what their goals are? And how do I create that journey and experience for them where they look back and say, I was able to achieve those things for themselves. So that's what I'm trying to do. How do I make the world big enough that people that I like and I want to be around, how do they not leave my world to find more opportunities? Can they find somewhere in the organization, somewhere where have their place to grow? Because, they could be anywhere in the world. Now, I would say out of 7 billion people, you picked my organization to give your family's time away from your family. I'm grateful. But if I don't create an opportunity for you where you have to now look outside, not because of performance or because of, people to people, we like each other, you just not have the opportunity. Now that's on me. I need to create that opportunity for you to grow further. And that's how most of these expansions and growth is happening because they have raised their hand and said, come on, Gaurav, where's my opportunity?
That's
I
awesome.
like to do this. Could we do that? And I said, oh, that's a good idea. Let's try that.
And that's a huge responsibility for you. It's not only that individual, like you said, it's that you're taking time from their families, it's their livelihood, it's all that's connected.
And why be in a seat if you're not gonna be responsible for what that seat brings to you? So if I'm not gonna take the responsibility and I'm not okay with it, then I need to get off that seat and allow somebody else to be the CEO, to be able to manage the responsibility. I feel I take pride and excitement and I'm loyal to that role. So as long as I'm gonna continue doing my role, I think I can stay here. When I'm not, I should get out of the way.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Gaurav, this has been an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing. One last thought I'd like to hear from you is you are where you are right now. You're not done. And I love that. You're in a position where you could do this kind of work forever. I'm sure you're not going to break your back doing this kind of work, which is great. Looking back at that college graduate and where you are right now, what would you tell that kid?
Oh, that's a tough one. I hope you would have given me the question before I had some time to think about it.
No, 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 no.
What would I say to that person? I did not. 100,000 was the maximum extent of how, and I thought I'm going to achieve that by the age of 60.
Wow.
So it wasn't like I was going to achieve that next year I graduate. I just thought that if I made $50,000 a year and I had a 3% increase or 4% increase every year in my job, it'll take me 30 years to double my salary. I was thinking at that level of saying, how can I be an employee? How can I be a great employee and continue getting those things? I just didn't realize the world was so big
Yeah.
and the opportunities are so huge. So, I would tell that kid today is like, dream big and then go after it. Believe in yourself. Hard work will always be paid off. It's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps that kid.
That's that, right? That's fantastic. And it's amazing how much can be done within inside the real estate business. How many opportunities there are, the avenues that you've taken. You have 5 different brands going on or more. You got an insurance company. The world is whatever you want it to be, and you're making it happen, which is really cool.
I think everybody can. One phrase I learned from somebody saying the best agent is the best agent. Let me rephrase it. The world has yet to see the best agent ever. The best agent has not gotten the license yet. So the next person who's going to be coming in can look at everything, listen to all the past podcasts, and read all the books, and have all the experiences, and then do just +1 and everything in the past. So just because you see other people are a little bit ahead in the journey doesn't mean that you can get there faster. Every year, the world record is broken. Every Olympics, the world record is broken because they see what is that can be done. So the next agent or a new agent today, please believe in yourself Just see what others are doing, copy it, and add your own plus personal touch to it. The work is in your hands. Believe in
That's awesome.
yourself and do the work that it takes.
We got to end it there. I can't. That's it. That was beautiful. That's awesome, Gaurav. I really, really appreciate that. Great words, and I hope this gets heard. And I'm going to do my best to spread this out. If you're watching the show, please subscribe, share this one. You can change lives with Gaurav's story, and that's it. Be your best and have fun.
Thank you.